So basically, this flag is a Chechen flag, Chechen Republic of Ichkeria. Chechnya has been fighting with Russia over 400 years. In other words, Russia has been terrorizing Chechnya for over 400 years. And now the government that's in Chechnya, Chechnya is currently occupied by Russia. It's under Russia. But the government that is in Chechnya, it's a government that was established by Russia. So basically, it's a Russian government. They are Chechens, they speak Chechen, but they are corrupted and they are traitors. We don't recognize the flag of that government, which is the official flag. This is our flag, our freedom flag. This flag, since 1991, this has been our flag when Chechen got its independence. And the reason for today's gathering is not because of this flag. The reason for today's gathering is when Russia invaded Ukraine, there was a Chechen lady that was living in Ukraine. So initially she was living in Chechnya. She has fled Chechnya and she went to Ukraine for refuge. And in Ukraine, when the war started, along with thousands of other people, she has fled Ukraine, trying to cross over to European countries. In the border of Romania, she was detained and she was arrested because Russia has put her into Interpol list on a false accusations. And based on that, Romania has detained her and they have imprisoned her and they are threatened to extradite her to Russia. Now, this girl, Amina, she's a young girl, she's 30-something years old. She has an 8-year-old child. Her mother was also killed by Russians and she was also tortured in Chechnya. And they have separated her from her 8-year-old child. She has spent 7 or 8 months in prison and now they have released her, but they have put her into detention center. So she still doesn't have freedom. So basically we are out here to convey the message that, Amina Gerikhanoca has been falsely accused and to release her, to let her reunite with her 8-year-old child. And now only today people are coming to realize that Russia is the terrorist state. Russia is an evil empire. But we Chechens, we have experienced this over 400 years. This is in Russians' blood, to kill people, to humiliate people, to torture people. We know what's going to happen if she gets deported, if she gets extradited to Russia. She is going to be humiliated. She is going to be tortured. She's going to be killed. You know what I mean? This poor lady, she has done nothing. She was living, she has fled Ukraine along with thousands of other people who have fled the war in Ukraine from the evil of Russia. And all we're asking is the people of goodwill, to unite and to convey the message to Romania and to ask Romania to free this Chechen lady and to let her reunite with her 8-year-old child. So basically that's the whole nutshell of this peaceful protest.
I'm glad it stopped because I didn't know. I would have Googled it, of course, but
yeah.
I've just come. I don't live in Dublin. I'm from Monaghan. I'm a photographer from Monaghan.
All right, okay.
And I've just travelled up here today I've just come from a meeting of Russian women.
Okay.
3 Russian women that are resident in Ireland.
Okay.
That are gathering and organising themselves to help in any way they can to bring the word of. That not all Russians are
definitely
are happy with this war.
Yeah, definitely. I know that.
And I think it's very important that people like you stand up and be counted, as we say in Ireland. Stand up and say your piece, because what happens is, I could be honest with you, if we had been having a conversation and you said you were Chechen, the first thing in my mind would have been, you probably are in agreement with what not your leader, but the leader of Chechnya is doing to the people and the Syrians, and that goes on and on.
True. That's
so
true.
In Ireland we call it getting tarred with the one brush.
Yeah,
everybody gets covered with the one swipe, and even though you have a completely different opinion, so it is very important that these things are said out in the open for people to know.
And we appreciate very much that the fact that people recognize and realize that we are not the Chechens of, basically, in other words, the Russian dogs, you know what I mean, that are being put to Ukraine and everywhere to kill innocent people in Ukraine. We've completely condemned that. In fact, there are Chechen freedom fighters that are fighting in Ukraine against Russia and against those very traitors that are fighting in Ukraine for Russia. You know what I mean? They are killing for Putin. This war, nobody needs this war. We are against any killing of any human being. Doesn't matter if it's Irish, if it's Ukrainian, anybody. We are against that, and we want peace. That's the message that we want to convey. We're against one country occupying another country. We're against genocides. We're against killing human beings, killing innocent people for political reasons, whatever reasons it may be. You know what I mean?
For the general Irish person watching from the outside, who's not really up to speed on the history of the two countries, it's extremely hard to understand why Chechens would, unless you get it from the horse's mouth, unless you hear it from a Chechen, why they would actually fight with the Soviets, given the history, that the slaughter that their own people endured for hundreds of years.
Yeah, and to be honest, you know, I've been here like almost 20 years, and you know, this is the longest I've ever lived anywhere in my life. I lived in Chechnya for about 7 years, and because of the war, I had to flee Chechnya. We went, you know, I was all over the place, and then I got to Ireland. So Ireland is my home, and I feel like it's my responsibility to let the Irish people know, and to let everybody to let everybody know, all the people of goodwill, that, you know, it's not us Chechens that are, you know, doing all these crimes. You know what I mean?
So you officially exiled from Chechnya because of your opinions.
My father was fighting in Chechen war against Russians. Basically, you know, we can't go home because of that. And I'm openly saying that the government that's in Chechnya, they are corrupted, they are traitors. Just for those words alone, that's sufficient for them to kill you, to humiliate you. Because anybody that opens their mouth in Chechnya, what they do is they don't only humiliate you and torture you and kill you. In fact, they gather all your relatives from your father's side, from your mother's side, and you know what I mean? They humiliate them, they torture them, they're asking them to get your son to say, oh, whatever, you know, I was possessed, like, you know, say that he loves the government, you know what I mean? So people can't express their opinions, you know what I mean? People have to pretend that they like the government. So at least here in Europe, we have the freedom of speech. You know what I mean? If we feel something is evil, we can stand up and say, this is bad. If this is good, we can support this. You know, that's the beauty of freedom of speech.
We already know that there is quite a large Russian population in Dublin city, regardless of the rest of the country, that are actually in support of Mr. Putin, or Putin as I call him. And now we know that there is a growing community of Russians who are completely opposed to it. Now, on your side of your community and your country, is there the same in Dublin? A group of people like yourselves that are against, and some that are...
Those kind of people, we don't even consider them Chechen. Because if somebody comes to your house and kills your family, how can you support that person? Even if 10 years passes by, even if 100 years passes by, the damage has been done, you know what I mean? And they have not paid for it, like, you know what I mean? Because at least, like, they should free our nation, they free our country. Our country is still occupied, you know what I mean? They have killed, slaughtered, genocided hundreds and thousands of people, raped women, children, and men, and yet still under Russian occupation. You know what I mean? We're still occupied by Russia, and we're not allowed to even condemn that. You know what I mean?
And it's all for money and greed and power.
And another thing is, thank God that in Ireland, every single Chechen, they are in the same position, as us. Every single person who has at least some knowledge, some common sense, and some knowledge of history of what happened, they all know the dirt that has come from them, you know what I mean? So basically, there's people here that never even heard of Chechnya, you know what I mean? For them, it's different, but for us, we have come from there, you know what I mean? We have experienced it. There is not a single person, there's not a single Chechen person who has not got a member of their family directly or indirectly killed by Russia or by the Chechen government. So it would be very, I don't know, it would be being dishonest with yourself if you would support the government of Chechnya or if you liked Russia, you know what I mean?
Listen,
so that's the message that we're trying to... No problem.
Thank
Likewise. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for coming up to me. Thank you.